Jakarta's metropolitan area is the second most populous urban area in the world after Tokyo. It is struggling to serve more than 1.4 million commuters every day. As a result, many people still rely on private vehicles, leading some 17.3 million of motorcycles and 3.76 million of cars to clog the city's streets. Not only causing gridlocks, the excessive number of private vehicles also contribute to the increase of greenhouse gas emissions, leading Jakarta to rank 15 in world's most polluted cities ranking. Similar problems are also faced by other major cities in Indonesia such as Bandung, Semarang, and Surabaya. To address this issue, electric vehicles have emerged as a promising solution. EVs use batteries as a power source, and thus they produce less air pollutants and are more energy efficient. But could EV truly solve the issue of transportation in Indonesia and in Jakarta in particular?
Hi, my name is Divya, a journalist at the Jakarta-Post, and in this coverage, I will try to answer these questions. Efforts to push EV adoption in Indonesia began in early 2010 along with several early research and development projects in the country. But it was not until 2019 that the government introduced the presidential regulation on accelerating battery electric vehicle program that was aimed to boost EV adoption and reduce dependence on fossil fuels.
Dan dengan mengucap Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, saya resmikan dan saya luncurkan pabrik Hyundai Motor Manufacturing Indonesia dan mobil listrik Ioniq 5 pertama buatan di Indonesia hari ini.
Since then, the development of electric vehicles in Indonesia has grown rapidly. In 2020, there were more than 9,000 registered electric vehicles in Indonesia, and this number is expected to continue to increase in the future. In addition, many large car manufacturers have introduced their electric vehicles to the Indonesian market, including locally produced electric cars. The Indonesian government also provides incentives and support for the use of electric vehicles, such as tax exemptions and subsidies for the prices of electric vehicles. We met with Arwani Hidayat, who is an electric car user, and asked him about his experience using the electric vehicle.
Perbandingannya minimum 1,5, 1,6. Mobil ini kan ketahuan ini. Ya. Per kilometer misalnya mobil ini. Tadi saya terakhir 9,1. Mbak Dia ya, Mbak Adif ya. Tadi yang kita berjalan dari rumah, itu tadi saya menggunakan listrik. Oh ini tadi udah berganti listrik. Tadi saya menggunakan listriknya itu 9 kilo per kWh. Artinya 1.600 listrik yang di rumah tadi dibagi 9, nggak mencapai 200 kan? Tuh. Sementara kalau saya menggunakan Pertamax 14.000 kan? 14.000 kalau yang saya pakai di belakang tadi Terano misalnya gitu. Itu 1 liter saya kalau dalam kota 1,7. 14.000 bagi 7 2.000 per kilometer kan? Ini 200 nggak nyampe, coba.
Ever since Arwani started using electric car in 2021, he has been able to cut a lot of cost. He says paying for gasoline is much more expensive than the electricity cost incurred from charging his EV. While Arwani says he has benefited a lot from using EV, there are still lingering concerns.
Charging point-nya kan belum banyak. Kemudian ketika semakin banyak populasinya, kita tahu bahwa ngecas mobil listrik itu tidak seperti isi BBM yang paling cukup 5-10 menit ya.
One of the concerns is the availability of charging stations in Indonesia. As of November 2022, Indonesia has 439 charging stations in 328 locations, and the number keeps growing. However, the condition of the electricity network infrastructure in Indonesia, which is still not optimal, is inhibiting the development of charging stations. While charging an EV is relatively simple, the limited number of charging stations at the moment means sometimes you'd have to make a plan in advance on where you should charge your EV during a long trip. If you drive a conventional car, you usually spend 5 to 10 minutes to pump gas into your car if there is a line at the gas station. But if you drive an EV, you could have to wait to get your car charged for 30 minutes until 1.5 hours. That's why it's important for you to manage your trip beforehand. A good management plan needs an exact route, distance, stops, and the location of charging stations. This way, you'll know when and where to charge your batteries so that you're not running out of juice.
Kalau kita mau perjalanan jauh, kita sudah punya manajemen perjalanan, jaraknya berapa lama, kita akan berhenti di mana saja gitu kan. Nah, kita sudah tahu nih titik-titik charging yang ada di dalam map.
To help you plan your trip, whether it's short or a long one, you can use a number of apps. These apps will show you the location of charging stations in Indonesia so that you can plan beforehand. These apps will also tell you how much will it cost to charge your EV and which stations are available and which ones aren't because they are being used. Some of these apps are charged in by PLN, My Pertamina, and EVcuz. Besides making a proper trip plan, it's also important to maintain the health of your EV battery. In the case of Arwani, he avoids using fast charging.
Jangan sering-sering ngecas menggunakan fast charging atau ultra charging. Karena fast charging dan ultra charging itu kan listrik begitu besar, langsung didorong, dipaksa untuk mengisi sel-sel secara cepat gitu. Nah, itu yang menurut saya kurang baik dalam jangka waktu yang lama ya.
Unlike Arwani, who used an electric car, Shahrul and Anwar, who work as online motorcycle taxi drivers, choose to use electric motorcycles. Both Shahrul and Anwar say they enjoy using their electric motorcycles as they're fuel efficient and don't produce air or noise pollution. And like Arwani, they're also able to save some money.
Kalau menurut motor biasa sama motor listrik, emang kata orang sih weditan ini. Lebih irit sih khas mereka ya. Terus juga kita nggak ribet-ribet buat ngantri di pom bensin ya. Nggak waktu. Iya. Iya, efisien sebenarnya sih.
Shahrul says he spends less than 100,000 rupiah per month to charge his motorcycle's batteries. Meanwhile, if he uses conventional motorbike, he'd have to spend up to 200,000 rupiah per month for gasoline.
Nggak nyampe 100.000 sih lah kayaknya.
Nggak nyampe 100.000
Nggak nyampe
ya?
Iya.
Ketimbang kalau misalnya dibandingin sama Bapak harus isi bensin, sebulan kira-kira berapa Bapak?
Saya sih belum pernah pakai, jujur saya belum punya motor pribadi ya, motor yang biasa ya. Kalau dari teman-teman cerita sih mereka mungkin 20.000 per 3 hari isi per 3 hari.
And just like electric cars, using electric motorbikes also have its own challenges. For one, there's a risk of your battery running out of juice if you don't properly plan your trip and bring a second battery with you. Second, your battery will also degrade the more you use it. Anwar says he has had to replace his battery twice since 2021. Third is the limited number of battery swapping stations in Indonesia where electric motorcycle users can go to have their empty batteries swapped with freshly charged ones.
Tapi kekurangan kita itu di shelter doang tukeran baterai. Kendala. Sebenarnya bisa, cuman shelternya itu agak kurang. Penampungan baterainya kan. Kalau orang di supermarket apa-apa, tapi kalau kita di daerah Bogor, kayak Bojong, Depok, itu kan susah. Minimarket pun nggak ada. Kalau Jakarta alhamdulillah banyak. Cuman kalau kendala tengah jalan kadang itu kita di shelter-shelter kayak pom bensin lah, inilah itulah. di tengah jalan mati aja udah bingung mana.
Iya, ke shelternya susah gitu.
Iya.
Tapi maksudnya nggak ada layanan yang bisa bantuin Bapak kalau misalnya mogok di tengah jalan.
Sebenarnya ada. Cuma saya ada nggak praktis ya. Maksudnya dia agak suka lama responnya.
Oh, oke.
Terakhir saya ada kendala waktu itu, ini tiba-tiba motor saya nyalain dari aplikasi nggak bunyi, cuma layar nggak nyala. Saya kontak pusat bantuan, baru diresponnya sejam kemudian.
Besides cutting cost, Arwani says he also uses electric car for environmental reasons. Unlike diesel and petrol cars, which emit toxic emissions from their tailpipes, EVs don't produce toxic pollutants. However, there are still some issues that could prevent EVs from being truly green. For one, there's a question on how to safely dispose of EV batteries once they degrade and become unusable. These batteries contain hazardous chemicals such as sulfuric acid as well as heavy metals such as lead and cadmium. Therefore, they can pollute the soil and water if disposed of improperly. Arwani says the Indonesian government has a plan to build factories that will recycle EV batteries. Battery cells that still can be used will be repurposed for products like power banks and solar panels batteries. Those who can no longer be used will have their materials like manganese, cobalt, and nickel recycled. Another issue is the sources of electricity that power EVs in Indonesia. Since most electricity generation in the country still comes from coal, using EVs in Indonesia still produce significant emissions, even though it's still less than emissions from conventional vehicles. While there's a government plan to transition from coal to renewable energy, coal is still expected to power 48.4% of Indonesia in 2030. This is something that Arwani and other EV users in Indonesia are aware of. Therefore, some EV users have considered installing solar panels at their houses.
It's evident that there is an appetite for EVs in Indonesia. Those who already used EVs are content with the fact that they can slash fuel cost and reduce air pollution. But the glaring truth is there is a significant amount of hurdles that needs to be addressed before the country can reap the maximum benefits of adopting EVs in the long run. Nevertheless, with increasing support from the government and stakeholders, the future of EVs in Indonesia is looking positively bright.